What's up, family, friends, and foes? It's your girl, Philly Cigar Jawn.
And your guy Chief, bringing you another episode of Stix Brims and Stilettos. So grab your glasses and your sticks, and let's get ready to smoke
Smoke
another
another
hot
hot
topic.
topic. So, welcome everyone. The hottest podcast is finally here. Again, I am Philly Cigar Jawn,
And I'm Chief.
and we are here to talk about everything that you ever wanted to talk about. I know the title of the podcast is Stix Brims and Stilettos, but we're going to go deep. We're going to go much further than just Stix Brims and Stilettos. We're going to talk about relationships, politics, sports, what's hot topics. So we're going to get into it.
Yeah, and if you've ever thought about conversations that you've had at the cigar lounge, the barber shop, the beauty salon, we're going to bring those conversations to life right here at Stix Brims and Stilettos. So I want to start off by thanking all of our members who are tuned in and watching, and all of our supporters, as well as our sponsor for this first episode. So again, we want to say thank you to you from us at Stix Brims and Stilettos.
So let's get into it. So I guess everyone is wondering, how did this podcast come about? So before we even get into that, let's talk about how me and Chief met.
Yeah, let's talk about how we met.
So everyone loves when he tells the story about how we met, especially my girlfriend Robin. She just get tickled pink every time he tells the same story, no matter if she heard it 3 times or 30 times. So let's get into it. So let's talk about that night. What, 2.5 years
Two
ago
and a
now?
half years ago, February 27th, 2021. We were still in the pandemic protocol.
That's true.
The world had opened up some, but we were still people were still wearing masks and being cautious. However, people were starting to emerge from their homes as well and wanting to get out a little bit. So I was one of those people, and being a cigar smoker and a boxing enthusiast, I decided that the cigar lounge that I was a member of, I was going to drive up and watch the fight. The fight that night was Canelo versus Yildirim fight. Yeah, so it was an interesting day.
Well, why you say it's interesting?
Because when we were in some of us,
Right.
some of us during the pandemic were in a period of isolation in terms of not being able to do the normal activities that we were accustomed to doing. Not necessarily total social isolation, although there are some people out there who did experience total social isolation. But I started to experience some isolation in terms of just my normal movement, my normal activities, the things that I typically would engage in. And so I said, I'm single. I have friends. And maybe a friend might want to travel to the lounge and watch the fight and just hang out, and socialize. And so it just so happens that two of my brothers of the Leaf were going to go up and watch the fight as well. So I made a couple of phone calls and you know seeing if a few friends or seeing if a friend wanted to go.
So let me pause you right there, see, because he's being polite and he's not really telling the full story.
I'm telling you
What he was doing, he was trying to find a date that night to come up to the cigar lounge with him. So let's get into it. Let's tell the full story. You don't
Okay.
have to be kind and nice.
Okay.
Everybody know I'm here now. I ain't going nowhere. So go ahead and get into it.
Yeah. So anyway, looking for a date
Okay.
to accompany me to the cigar lounge to hang out, right, and get out of that period of that feeling of isolation. So anyway, so I made a phone call. One person told me she was available. Sure, why not? And then like a couple hours later, I thought about it. I'm really not ready to be in that type of environment yet. So I know I said I would go, but I'm not gonna go. All right, no problem. So I made a second phone call, sent a text message. And that young lady said she wasn't available, already had some plans. Cool. So a couple of hours before leaving, I said, all right, let me call another friend, see if she's interested. And going to hang out. You know, listen, I'm a single man. You know,
3 strikes. Come on.
Yeah, right. 3 strikes. Single guy, just looking to hang out. Hadn't been dating during that whole. I mean, who really wanted to like date during that whole COVID period, right? So, yeah, this young lady was like, you know, I'll let you know. I'm a little tired right now. What time are you planning on going? This is the time I plan on going, and I'll let you know. You know, so I called. You know, probably about a couple hours prior to leaving, and you know, she was like, "Sure." You know, I took a nap. I think I'm good, and so I leave. I'm en route to pick her up, and she calls and's like, "You know, I'm a lot more tired than I thought I was. I haven't even gotten myself together." So now I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball because you know the undercard in the boxing match has started. My guys were already up there, you know, they were hitting me like, hey, are you still coming through? So I'm like, yeah, I'm coming through. So I get on the road and I'm headed up. So one of my buddies that was already there, he hit me. He was like, hey man, you know, there's some young ladies here sitting across from us up here at the lounge. I don't know if they're still gonna be here when you get up here. He said, but you know, there's one in particular. I think you might like her when you get up here, you know. So I'm like, you know how you hear stuff like, all right, whatever. It's women at the cigar lounge all the time because women have really gotten into, you know, cigar smoking. So, you know, I kind of heard it like, okay, whatever. So I said, I'll see you when I get there. So I actually made a couple of stops on my way, you know, up the road. It's about an hour away from where I live. And I go in and the place is jam-packed. But, you know, to my surprise, a lot of the crowd were fraternity brothers of mine. Now, fraternity brothers that I initially knew. I got an opportunity to meet them that night. But they all...
So tell everybody what's your fraternity.
Oh, Omega Psi Phi, of course. So, yeah, there were members of Omega Psi Phi there. I mean, the place was packed full of them. And so, or I should say full of us. And so I couldn't sit with my buddies who I was meeting up there. So I sat all the way down on the other end. And the lounge we belong to is a pretty nice sized lounge. Probably seats comfortably about 80 people. So, you know, I kind of watched the fight from down the other end. And my buddy said, hey, when you get a chance, come down here and, you know, just kind of drop in my ear which one you think I was talking about. I said, all right, cool, no problem. So in between fights before the main event, I went down and... you know, I was talking to him and the other brother of the Leaf, and so I told him, I said, yeah, the one right there with the jeans, yeah, and the nice greenish shirt right there with the red hair. So I said, yeah, that's gonna be the one I think that you were talking about. Although all 3 of them are attractive young ladies, you know, I said I think when it comes to me, you probably were referring to her. So
now let me stop you there, okay? Because now here is where the story get a little dicey, okay? Because I don't know whether it was him or his friend, but one of them captured a picture of me that night. So my question is, and you swear that it wasn't your friend,
no.
But apparently, I don't know if he sent the picture to you while you were en route,
no.
Or you took the picture.
No.
So I don't know if you did that or your buddy did that.
So I took that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, I took that
picture.
Yeah, I took that picture.
Mystery solved.
Yeah.
Okay.
I took that picture, but I wasn't necessarily taking that picture of you, but you did end up in the picture because when I did go over there, when I did turn to take a picture with us, you happened to just so happen to be in the background. And so that was cropped out. That's why the picture you saw was cropped out.
But you can go ahead. We know that wasn't true.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had pictures.
Dude,
I have the pictures.
And you even circled it.
Exactly, because I cropped it out.
Don't make me
I
pull
cropped it
out
out.
the evidence.
I cropped it out.
Okay.
I cropped you
All
out.
right.
I cropped everything out, and I had your beautiful face right there in the
Okay.
center. So I took the picture.
All right.
And
go
I
ahead.
told him when I went back to my seat,
My goodness.
I said, that's the one. And he was like, yep. He said, I said, yeah, that's the one I was just telling you when I went up there. Right?
Okay.
So that was that, but I still didn't know you at that point.
Right?
And,
no, you did not, because I'm chilling with my girls
yeah,
that
you
night,
chilling
having a
and
good time.
yeah, and I'm sitting all the way down away from my guys, but it was cool. I was in good company.
But let's talk about, so let's fast forward a little bit. So how we really started to engage, because that night me and my girlfriends were very needy. Okay, we love the cigars, we love to smoke, but unfortunately that night, or fortunately, we didn't have a lighter and we didn't have a cutter.
And you didn't have a phone charger. So that was that, but I still didn't know you at that point.
Right?
And,
no, you did not, because I'm chilling with my girls
yeah,
that
you
night,
chilling
having a
and
good time.
yeah, and I'm sitting all the way down away from my guys, but it was cool. I was in good company.
But let's talk about, so let's fast forward a little bit. So how we really started to engage, because that night me and my girlfriends were very needy. Okay, we love the cigars, we love to smoke, but unfortunately that night, or fortunately, we didn't have a lighter and we didn't have a cutter.
And you didn't have a phone charger.
And we didn't have a phone charger. So who asked you for the
Auger asked for the phone charger.
Oh, asked for the phone charger. Yeah, so his lighter. And then after that, I don't know how we got into it.
I know how we got into it.
Oh, I know you remember.
The fight ended. The
Yeah.
fight ended. People started to clear out. And so there was a space next to my buddies. They were like, hey, man, the couple guys that were here, they're gone. So those two spaces that open happen to be directly across from you and your girls.
Right.
And so I sat down, I was talking to them. And you had gotten up to walk up towards the humidor. And I just remember looking at you, and I remember telling my buddy, I was like, yeah, look at her. She got her nose up in the air, nose touching the clouds.
That is the biggest misconception of me.
I'm like, look at her. Yeah,
that's not true.
I'm saying that's Miss Thing right there.
Oh,
I
wow, Miss Thing.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, she look nice and everything, man, but it's all good. So anyway, you came back. And I happened to be talking to one of my fraternity brothers when you were on your way back. We were standing up.
I remember.
And you walked up. You walked up and said, hey, so who's winning the fight? All jovial and friendly. And I remember looking at you saying, the fight ended 20 minutes ago, but Canelo won. And you were like, oh, the fight ended 20 minutes ago. So then you and the frat brother I was talking to, who I just met, started engaging in a little bit of a conversation. So I just kind of walked off while you all were talking and went and sat back down. And I think you talked to him maybe for a minute or two, and then because he was already leaving. And then you sat back down, and and then from there, I became,
mesmerized.
I became Mr. Accessories on Loan.
Mr.
Accessories on Loan.
That's true.
First I was asked, do you have a cutter? So I gave up my cutter. No, actually I cut the cigars for you guys. I cut the burn-in off.
Okay.
Yeah. Then y'all was sitting there and decided you wanted to smoke again because y'all asked for the cutter because you were putting the cigars away that you had left. A couple minutes later, it's like, you have a lighter? So give me the lighter. So me and my boys are talking, and now I guess our phone was starting to die. She's like, excuse me, do one of you gentlemen have a charger, a phone charger? Like, what kind of phone? So, of course, I had the adapter that I carried with a couple different types. And so gave her the adapter to charge the phone. And then I think from there, when you and I later started engaging in conversation.
Yeah. But here's the funny part, though. We started talking. I believe I had just wrapped up a panel discussion.
Yes.
I was a moderator. And that's how we really started to converse, because you said I just appeared on a panel discussion as a guest. And now where we are, we're in a completely different state. I work out of state. I actually work in his state. And oddly enough, where I work, the specific county, he actually works in that county. And it was the oddest thing where we're not in that state where he lives. We're in the state where I live. And we meet up at the Cigar Lounge, which I am a member of. I was a member of at that time. And he would drive up. And that's about an hour ride for you,
About an hour drive.
About an hour drive. And we meet up at the Cigar Lounge.
That we both have been members of
Since,
the year before.
Right, since the inception.
Because I joined
of
in
this
2020.
lounge. Right.
You joined in 2020.
In 2020.
And we had never crossed
engaged.
paths, never really seen each other or had conversations until that night.
Right. So then we started to converse, and we had a lot of commonalities. And for me, I would be honest, it wasn't a romantic spark. It was just a professional, because when I hear someone talk about their profession, and if it's aligned with mine, I'm straightly going in professional mode. So I'm like, listen, I need you to get on the next panel discussion. We exchanged numbers, and I was in professional mode that night. And again, my girls know when I'm out with my girls, it's about my girls. We chill. We're not looking for anything. We just out to have a good time and engage one another. And that night we exchanged numbers.
That night you gave me your business card.
I gave him my card, and you gave me I guess it was your personal cell.
Yeah, I gave you my business card as well.
So he was heading up the road, and I texted you, right? I texted you first.
No.
Because I know he has a memory like an elephant.
No.
You
So me eventually, because we ended up in that conversation for an hour after the fight ended. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, the lounge was about to start closing down when, and there were still people in there.
Right.
But you and your girls were preparing to, leave, and me and my guys were preparing to leave. Of course, you were taking a 15-minute ride. I was getting ready to take an hour-long ride, and so we stopped at a Wawa, me and my buddy, and I left my phone on the phone holder when I stopped in Wawa to get myself a coffee to sip on the way down the road, because it's probably about 1 o'clock in the morning. I knew I wouldn't get home till about 2. And so when we go into the Wawa, I'm talking to him. He's like, yeah, I see you and the young lady, you thought she was all stuck up, but y'all were holding court for like a whole hour, right? He's like, I think you forgot, he forgot that him and my other buddy, he said, you must have forgot we were there, man, because we became invisible because you and her were just engaged in the conversation. So, conversations typically stimulate me intellectually. It's just how I'm wired. So if I get into a good conversation, I'm good with it. I can go I can listen, learn, and share for a long period of time. So I told him, I said, it was a great conversation. She's a good conversationalist. And I said, I was wrong. I said, yeah, when I saw her get up and I saw her sashay down to the to the humidor, and I'm like, I'm checking out, her attire, and I'm checking out those sexy Christian Louboutin boots she got on, and I'm looking, I'm observing. But I told him, I said, I was guilty of judging the book by the cover. I was definitely guilty of that, because it was a great conversation. But we saw things differently, so where we didn't make that romantic or love connection. Right. I immediately had you in the crosshairs after we left. Oh yeah, I had you in the crosshairs, right? So if it wasn't a spark, I made sure that I had all my lighters and lighter fluid on deck.
We know.
Because we was gonna see if we found one there somewhere. So anyway, I told my friend in the store we're getting a coffee, and I was like, no, she seems pretty cool. In fact, come to find out, even though she lives out of state, she commutes in a couple days a week to her office, and it's right there in my county. There might be some opportunity, maybe to grab lunch or something and get to know her a little bit more or whatever. And so he was like, okay, that's all cool. I said, but I'm looking forward to the next time I speak to her. And I said, the great thing is she's a member of the lounge, so there might be some opportunity for us to meet up at the lounge periodically, and talk. And so when we leave the Wawa, I get in my car, and once I turn the ignition on and the phone lights up, I see the indicator that I have a message. Now, I'm actually thinking the message is from my son. My son checking on me to see if I'm on my way home or something. But to my surprise, it was a missed call and a message from you saying, hey, great conversation, enjoyed meeting you. Just want to let you know, drive home safely. or what have you.
Safety first.
Yeah, drive home safely, and feel free to shoot me a message to let me know you got in okay. Right. And most importantly, make sure you're available to be on that panel discussion when I send you the invite to be on our next, I think it was called Real Talk panel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure that you're available to participate in my Real Talk panel. And you said I'm gonna forward your information to the young lady who runs the organization. So yeah, it was great conversation, but it was all centered around business.
See, he ain't telling the full story again.
You ain't letting me get to the full story.
No, you kind of brushed over when you said you saw your phone and you saw a missed call and a mix.
You didn't let me get to that part.
You did get to it.
You didn't let me finish.
Let's get the real response out though. How you felt when you saw that text?
Okay, so when I saw when I saw the text and the phone call,
be honest,
which I was going to get to, when I saw the text and the phone call, I did take my phone off of the phone holder. I did get out of my car, I did exit my vehicle, and I waved my buddy down as he had his car in reverse. So I'm like, yo. So he stops the car, and he was like, yo, bro, you good? Everything all right with your car? I was like, yeah, bro. She texts me. Right? And then I'm looking, I'm like, yo, and she called me. He's like, yeah. She's like, oh, Lord. He said, hey, bruh. I was like, what? He said, can you sound a little bit more excited? At 1:15 in the morning, can you sound any more excited? I was like, nah, man, like, she's cool. Like, I said, bro, she texted me saying, hey, get home safely and the whole nine. And so anyway, I hadn't even responded yet. So I get in my car and I respond back, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you, as well. Great conversation. Hey, I got a long ride home. If you don't mind, continuing the conversation if you're not too tired. And she immediately obliged me, and bam, the phone rung. She called me. She's like, sure, I'll keep you company on your ride home. We can talk. We just continue really to talk business.
So let me pause you there. So this is an interesting story how we met, right? We found some commonalities right away. We both are cigar lovers. So ladies,
boxing fans,
and boxing fans, and ladies and men out there, I'm curious. Drop in the chat and let us know how you met your significant other. Was it a spark when you first met one another? Was it something that you all had to grow into? Do you have a unique story? Drop that information in the chat. I just want to know how some of the other couples became one, and I think that would be very interesting to see. What you think?
I'm interested to see how many tries it took before
yeah, man.
Some of the couples found the right person.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm interested in how many tries. It took me a lot of tries.
A lot of tries.
Yeah, it took me a lot of tries.
Well, you ain't gotta try no more.
I don't have to try anymore.
That's
right. Just maintain though.
Yeah.
Which I think is important. Which has shown to be important. But I think even beyond that, not just how the couples out there who might be watching this became one, but what do they do to maintain?
Ooh,
what does maintenance look like?
Yes.
In that relationship, what are some of the obstacles that you overcome? Because sometimes when you're on social media, people celebrating anniversaries, right?
Yes.
And people will say stuff like, yeah, we've been through thick and thin and up and down and da. But what does that really mean?
Yeah, how did you survive through the thin?
Yeah,
What compromises did you have?
And what does your thin look like?
And
what does your up look like? What does your down look like?
Exactly.
Because it's all subjective and all relative to the people involved.
Because how I feel about social media posts.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer. People only put out there what they want you to see.
Right. And
I'm a firm believer, and I don't care if it's your husband, your child, whatever. You will never know 100% that person. And especially when you are so focused on social media, again, it's so much. And you know what I call Facebook, fake bull.
Yeah.
Because you can be anything on social media. They even have, the venues now where you can rent the different backdrops.
Oh, yeah.
Where it can seem like you're on a plane, you're in
Yeah.
Italy or anywhere, and everything is just so superficial now.
Right.
People don't really talk about the struggle anymore. Now, I want to hear about the struggle. How you got to the other side as a couple. Because for real, that's what people want to know. Because there's somebody, and there's a couple struggling right now who's trying to figure out how we're going to get through this. How we going to get to the other side of this.
Yeah.
So that's why we need for you to drop in that chat. Like when you facing those struggles, how do you get over it? How do you get through it? What do you compromise to get to the other side?
And I tell you, our relationship has been a good relationship. It's been a learning relationship, but it hasn't been a relationship without its obstacle. First of all, we're both Geminis.
Oh, Lord, don't y'all shoot us. Yes.
We are both Gemini, so there are never less than 4 people in the room. That's the minimum. Never
and that's
less
just
than
my
4.
side.
Yeah, there's never less.
That's just my side.
And 4 people in the room. So, though it's been good and it's been healthy, it's been a learning experience. And heretofore, it's been a learning experience that I hadn't had.
Yes.
I'm experiencing some things in this relationship, even though I've been in relationships before. I'm experiencing some things in our relationship, and I have experienced things in our relationship at a greater level. So there's going to be communication in all relationships. But the word communication in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean good or positive.
Yes.
Right? You can tell somebody F you, and that's communication, right? So the level that we made the declaration very early on that we would communicate at has been a difference maker for me in relationships.
And I want to chime in there because I have grown a lot in this relationship. And to your point, communication is key, and that is one thing that we're both aligned on. And listen, I'm gonna be honest, I'm still learning, and I think you're further along than I am when it comes to the communication process. And I told you this just recently, because one thing about you would listen, you would digest, you would accept, then you adjust. Like, you really listen to what I say. So I'm still in that space where I'm still learning to do that. I'm not, eventually, when you tell me something, eventually I'm like, you know what, you're right. You from the gate, you would sit, you would just listen, like I said, digest, accept, and adjust.
And then I try to execute based on...
And that's what I mean by execution is through your adjustment from the conversation that we had. And I do appreciate that about you, because I will be honest, I am a Gemini. I'm from Philly, Philly women, ladies, Philly women, we always get the bad rep, and I'm from West Philly, okay?
Yeah, Kevin
Philly.
Samuels used to talk about you Philly women.
Just last night, we was having a conversation, me and my girlfriend Rob, and we told the people we from Philly, and it's like, oh, y'all some tough women, oh, y'all. No, it's just certain things we just don't accept. But as I mature and just get older and get more comfortable in our relationship, I am seeing growth in myself. Because for me, I will be honest, I'm a mature, seasoned woman. Okay, I'm not going to reveal my age, but I will say that this has been the most healthiest relationship that I ever experienced. So, I do want to thank you for that. I think you make me better, I make you better, and together we are better.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that it's definitely, thank you for recognizing the things that I do, because that's growth for me. When you say I listen and, I digest it and then I make adjustments, I wasn't always in that space in my life in relationships. Even being married, in a marriage at one time, right? Listening to things, I didn't necessarily adjust, because here's the interesting thing. When you don't have the ability to have self-reflection, right? then you don't see a need to adjust.
Right.
If you can't accept certain things, then you don't see a need to adjust. So there was a point in my life where I possessed some of the same characteristics I have now as a man, and when I was told about these things, I was all right with it.
Right.
But through growth, and now for me being in my later 50s and having been in my mid 50s, totally single, dating, for me, and I'm only speaking for me, right? Because everybody meets, reaches an impasse during their own time. Right. That whole dating thing, that whole experience with asking 3 different people to hang out with me just to go watch a boxing match, just so I could have some company. Right. It didn't have to be anything more. Realistically, it didn't have to be anything more. When it was over with, drop her back off at her house, keep right on down the road, going to my house or whatever, and then go home. But having the enjoyment of having some company of female companion, type. But then it feels good right now where I am in my life to not have to do that at all.
Right. That is a wonderful feeling. And I know I had told you this recently. I feel when I'm out with my girls and we're having a girls' night out, I feel relaxed. I feel chill. I don't feel that pressure of having to meet someone. And I just feel, wow, I'm so glad that I can go home. I'm chill. I'm happy in my relationship. And then I just, I watch how some of these dudes move out here.
How they moving? I don't know. I've been away from that for a while. How they moving?
They just moving reckless. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so much. And then, no offense, but you don't know who you're dealing with. You don't know what you're going to get at the end of the day. So just going back to when you were single, because I was single for a very long time after my divorce. And I tell my girlfriends, they laugh and they say, "Oh, I love it." Because when I was single, I had to learn to compartmentalize, my friends. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about when you talk about compartmentalization. And I'm sure I'm not the only woman that did that. So when you're a single woman and you like to preserve yourself, you have different friends for different things. You had the fun guy we can go out, just kick it with, have fun with. You have the guy, if you needed something fixed, they come and fix your house. You have one you take trips with. But it wasn't like you were sleeping with these guys. It's where you were just compartmentalizing, to your point, where you can have company, you can have that companionship, but in different areas of your life. And I remember me thinking like, "Dang, I'll be glad when I can just find one man where I don't have to compartmentalize anymore." And again, when you're out today, it's just so much BS. Everybody trying to outdo one another. And again, especially with the social media just made it worse for dating. That's how I feel. So, ladies, let me know if you feel the same way. You think since social media has been on the scene, and especially in the last couple of years, do you think social media has made dating easier or harder? Because in my mind, I think it just makes it harder. Because now you got more options readily available. And so, so many people just craving for attention. They're willing to do anything. So, you're getting the inboxes, getting the DMs. And I just think it just made it too complicated to date.
So, I think that social media, I think it's a gift and a curse.
True.
I think it's a gift and a curse. I did the, so after my separation first, more during my separation. When I first separated before I got divorced, I actually went through a period of depression because I transitioned from going into a house that had people in it, right? So the house was alive, it breathed, you know what I mean? So even if it wasn't sometimes the best circumstances, it was still a home with people in it. And so when I separated, I moved back into my home that I owned previous to getting married. And when I walked through the door every day, it was just me, right? And so in the very beginning, it was okay. But very shortly thereafter, it wasn't okay. Because like when I walked through the door, I didn't have anybody asking how my day was.
You have dinner, you didn't smell dinner cooking either.
I didn't smell dinner, or I didn't go in the kitchen and start preparing dinner.
Right.
Because, there was a division of labor in the household, It's something about just being in a certain part of the house and hearing the door open, like you know
Right.
somebody's home, somebody
Right.
just came in.
Right.
So when you are not experiencing that anymore, depending on who you are. Again, I can only speak for how I'm wired.
Right.
So for me, I went through a period of depression. So what I ended up doing was I thrusted myself into my work.
Yep.
Every available hour of overtime, for anybody watching this who knew me during that time period, every available hour of overtime, I raised my hand and I was out there. Because one, it took me away from the house where I felt like I was at periods of time in isolation. It got my mind off of at that time thinking about the travails of why my marriage even landed in a separation. And then, you know, it kind of filled my pockets a little bit to pay some bills off. You know what I mean?
Right.
But eventually I transitioned into, so I said, okay, enough of this is enough. And this is after I divorced. I'm like, enough is enough. I'm gonna go on to dating sites. And it's crazy because that was something I was always opposed to.
Me too. I went there too.
Yeah, so I guess that goes to never say never.
Right.
Right? Because, you know, it's funny how, and I can admit this, right? I can admit this, part of growth for me, how you look at certain things and you frown on certain things, you know?
Yes.
And you be like, oh, those people are desperate, or those people are thirsty, and that's, you know. But I'm going to tell you, it feels different when you sit in the seat of thirst.
Ooh,
Say
that again.
When you sit in the seat of loneliness, you know?
Yes.
When you sit in the seat of wanting some companionship, right?
Yep.
You start to see those things through a different lens when it visits.
So bad. I need a little drink every now and then.
So
I mean, I'm thirsty.
Yeah, so those things take on a different appearance when they knock on your door and land on your doorstep. And so so I tried the online dating.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, one of the things that I love about our relationship,
I know, me too,
is how purely organic.
Yes.
We had no friends in common.
Nope.
We had no associates in common.
Nope.
We knew no people in common. We
didn't meet online.
Nobody made a connection for us.
Nope.
Nobody said, this is my friend.
Nope.
You know, Philly Cigar Jawn, Philly, this is Chief.
Yep.
You know, the only, if there was any connection, it was still organic, was my buddy saying that, hey, it's three ladies sitting across from us.
But he didn't know us.
And he didn't know y'all
Right.
he didn't know y'all from Adams. But he said, and I think you probably would really like one of them. Right? And that just goes to kind of knowing, you know, what
Your
I'm
taste.
attracted to by being around me as a friend.
Right.
And so, but that was all physical characteristics. The icing on the cake is when you opened your mouth. And we started to converse.
Come on, Ison.
And when we started to converse,
okay, now.
you know, and
Icing that cake, honey. Y'all better learn how to ice that cake later.
in my mind, we talking, but I'm making mental notes. I'm making mental notes because during that conversation, that quickly, I learned a couple of things that you shared with me about your space.
Right.
All right. I was able to share some things, but more importantly, it was one of the easiest conversations I had
It did flow
with a
naturally.
woman in a very long time. You can, you know, and I understand this. Sometimes you can speak to women that are very guarded. You're just trying to hold a conversation. And like you said, we didn't have a conversation like, oh, I'm going to get at him or I'm going to get at her.
Right.
Matter of fact, those elements never even entered into our conversation.
No.
They didn't even enter into our conversation probably for the first couple of weeks. It took me some courage. We really talked business for the first 2 or 3 weeks every time we were on the telephone. And I finally got the courage to say, you know, and I said this to you. I know you seem like a professional woman that doesn't want to mix business with pleasure and personal. And I said, and even though you told me you'll invite me to this next, you know, seminar, Real Talk, before we officially do any business, I'm at a point where I want to ask you if you'll go out to dinner with me. Right? That's literally how it went.
Right.
Because we literally were having we getting on the phone like, yeah, my day was this, and yeah, and this is what I dealt with, and da-da-da-da-da. We would talk a little bit of personals, you know, sprinkled in there. But we were having we were definitely having robust conversations.
Yes.
But we weren't having robust conversations in any manner of a romantic type.
Right.
Even though there was definitely an attraction there for me. You know, and so what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to be not sincere, right? I didn't want to be, and I don't know exactly the phrase I'm looking for, but here's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to cast my line as one thing, knowing that I'm trying to pull something
switch
back.
Switch bait.
Yeah.
You didn't want to switch your bait.
So I didn't want to continue down this path of let's have these general conversations and let me just get real close to you in some general conversations, and then you looking at me, then all of a sudden you start looking at me as a friend or a homeboy, then all of a sudden I'm popping with let's go, blah, blah. So I thought in my mind.
At that point you would have became compartmentalized.
Yeah, so that's what I didn't want. I didn't want to become one of your. I didn't want to become one of your compartments. No. So I conscientiously, because I'm like, yo, she don't play no game. I'm saying this to myself. I'm not even sharing this with anybody else. I can just tell from the vibe of the conversations. I'm saying, well, this is not anybody that's gonna play any games. Either way, not gonna have anybody play games with you. Not gonna play games. Not gonna waste people's time.
Right.
So, and I really said, before we go too far down this path of all these general conversations, I need to let her know, like, yo, I'm attracted to you, and I'm attracted to you on a number of levels, and I'm interested. I'm not just interested in being a panelist on your little talk thing or whatever.
Whoa, why I gotta be little?
Well, I'm sorry.
He said my little.
I'm sorry.
Don't discredit my work.
Anyway, I don't know, because I saw us bigger than that. So
okay. Oh, nice.
I saw the future of us being bigger than that. So no, that's when I made the decision on that day when I called you to see how your day was going, and I said, I just got to let you know I've enjoyed the conversations, and there's an attraction there, and I would like to explore whether or not there might be more that it could exist between us. I would like to at least take the opportunity to find out if you're willing, and you was like, well, let's just start off with, you could just start off with dinner or lunch or something. And I'm going to tell you what I really enjoyed, what I really liked.
What did you like?
Because there are people, when you say, so this is the dating thing for me, and I don't want to be all over the place. I want to stay with what I'm saying. When you said, yo, we can meet up for a cup of coffee after work, we can do a happy hour, if you want to do dinner, like you gave several different options. That immediately said to me, there is an interest in us being able to talk and getting to know each other better. There's not an interest to see if I'm going to go spend $300 on the first meal.
Can I pause you there?
Yes.
Let's talk about that. You need to pose that question to the men that's out here listening. I don't want to take you off track.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of conversation around the first date.
Yeah.
Like what?
Oh, I've had them conversations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you need to speak to the fellas on that, yo.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know how I feel about it.
Well, again, what I would ask the fellas is, what's your experience, man, in this dating world with this first date or this first or second date or this timeline that you may be given, that if by such and such a date, if you haven't taken me to this type of place or whatever, like just drop it in the comments and talk about. I can share my experiences, like, because I was dating. I was like out there. I was serial dating. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have anybody.
Right.
And as a grown man,
you have needs.
Well, I wasn't. That's true. But I could kind of say in my personal life, I can do what I want to do. So if I want to date one, or if I want to date 10, that's my prerogative. And same for women, you know. And that's really after a certain period of time. That's how I carried things for a short window. Like, I didn't owe anything to anybody in terms of commitment, so I can date and kind of do. So that meant I opened myself up to these social experiences, right? And in some cases, social experiments. But yeah, I met women. Like,
very expensive being single.
Yeah,
especially for
as a single man, it can be expensive being a single man if you allow it.
If you allow it.
But for those who know me. Yeah, but for those who know me, no, I'm not trying to keep up with anybody or whatever. I'm gonna treat you with respect, treat you like you matter, and I'm gonna place value. But there's more value to me than my wallet, for sure enough. And and I'm gonna stand by that. And so I appreciate the woman that you were, but I did experience that. Like, the first date, women talking about, yeah, you know, I picked out this place and this, that, and the other thing. This is where I want to go.
Was it Steak 48?
And then,
Budokan.
you know, in preparation, because I'm a guy, I want to prepare for the date. You know, I want to put on my best, you know, example of how, you know, I move. But I'm checking ahead of time, and you know I'm not out the door at this place for under $300. Mm-hmm. And like, is that a test? Mm-hmm. Right? Are you testing my wallet? Are you because people have these mindsets that may not necessarily match your mindset.
Absolutely.
People have some philosophical views, and I really don't know where they got them from. Mm-hmm. Right? But we are kind of made of what we grew up with or whatever. And so, but I am the guy that would check that.
Because you know what? And one thing, when we go back to the dating site conversation, right? I was on some dating sites, and you can just tell it was almost like a bartering system, right? It was a barter system where women were on there to get in the men's pockets, and the men were on there to get, absolutely, you know what?
Fair exchange.
So it was like a fair exchange. Exactly.
No,
so and again, these dating sites, social media, you know, you got average women, no offense, you know, who make $7-10 an hour. They may look good, nice body, and because of that, they got some social media followings. And if a man stepped to her, could be a decent man, working hard, but really want to get to know her. Oh, you got to take me to Steak 48. Oh, and you got to get my hair and nails done before we go out. You're laughing, but I've been told that. Her and her girls every night. Girl, we going to McDonald's. You getting the $5 special? You know, but when a guy step to him, it's just like if a woman is at a bar, you know, and they could be sitting there drinking, I don't know, Coors Light, Andre Champagne, I don't know. You come in, you offer them a drink. They want to go straight.
They want a $30 drink. Yeah, they want a $30 drink.
You know what I mean? So it's like you just have women, and I'm not saying all women, because I know my girls, we don't roll like that. Because for me, if men buy me a drink when I was single, I'll bounce one back, be like, yo, we good. Like you not just because you bought me a drink don't mean you gonna dominate my time. But you know that whole, like I said, this whole dating site scene today. It's always like, what can I get from you? It don't seem like nobody's really sincere about it. It's a big game.
Well, I think it has set unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely.
As well. So I will tell you, and again, I keep saying this, I'm going to say it again. Based on the way I'm wired, mm-hmm, based on the man that raised me, my dad, mm-hmm, men who were in my life, I kind of work in reverse. Mm-hmm. Like, and in my longest lasting relationships, I've been fortunate because this has worked out well. If you come out the gate with me, mm-hmm, about your hair, mm-hmm, your nails, your bills, mm-hmm, you don't even know who the hell I am, you don't know the substance, mm-hmm, of who I am as a man, then that's cool, because what it also says is, I don't care who you are.
Right.
I don't care how much substance you have.
Right.
Because I ain't got a whole lot of that myself. So I'm not looking for something that I also ain't possessing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But it depends on where you set your value. Mm-hmm. So you, for instance, I know where you set your value. Mm-hmm. And so you're looking for the same thing in a man if he's going to be your companion.
Right.
Right? So I say all that to say the way that I work, chances are you're going to get nothing from me coming out the gate with that foolishness. Mm-hmm. You get to know me, you get to know who I am, we're spending time together, we make the declaration that we're going to be a couple, chances are you won't have to ask me for nothing. Because part of what you said about I listen, I pay attention, yes, and I execute, yes, you might remember on our second, yes, full official date, the date that I did go out a little bit more, yes, on what we did, yes, I also ended that day, mm-hmm, based on listening.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you that I don't know if I ever told you this, but that date solidified for me that, you know what, I think I found him. I think I found the one man that could really satisfy what I was looking for. Not only what I was looking for, but what I needed. And I know you want to tell your part, but for me, so ladies, I'm just going to keep it short, real quick. So we went on this date. I had met him. He said, "Well, you don't have to drive all the way in." We kind of met halfway. So at the end of the date, he goes into the back of his trunk. He pulls out this big bag. And he says, "Don't open it until you get home." I'm like, "Oh, what is that?" I'm all giddy driving home. Like, what is that? So I get home and something told me to record it, and I still have that video today. And I'm so glad I did videotape me opening this big bag. So first it was beautiful red roses, lovely long stem roses. Then I told him I like to read. He had a book, and it was covered. And I didn't even catch this part. It was green. It was covered in this green package. Green is my absolute favorite color. And he brought me this holistic book. And I'm like, wow. And here's the thing. And it was a bottle of my favorite alcoholic beverage, Prosecco, and the brand that I love. And I pulled it out. I'm like, yo, how did he remember this? Because I said all of those things to you in just general conversation.
Just regular conversation.
Never asked for it, just general. And that, when I opened that bag up, I was like, you know what? I think I found him, with that. And I'm sitting, and I told, my girlfriends was so excited. Everything was team cheap, team cheap, team cheap. And it's like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the way you just pay attention and listen. And, you don't always let me know on the spot that you're listening, but you'll come back and you'll do something to let me know. Well, damn, wow. He really surprised me. Yeah. So I don't want to bore y'all too much. I know we got really deep into our relationship, but we wanted to kick off our first podcast. We wanted to have a little intimate time with our viewers so you can just have a bird's eye view of, how we met, how we vibe, and how we got here. But one thing I do want to ask Chief, and this is my question. When did you fall in love with the stick?
On my 50th birthday.
Whoa.
My 50th birthday. I could not stand the smell of cigars. Yeah. We have a room in my fraternity house where brothers go and smoke. Mm-hmm. If I was walking by the room and they're like, "Hey, Chief, come here, let me talk to you for a minute." Like, "No, you got to come out here because I don't want to be in there. I don't want it in my clothes." Mm-hmm. So my 50th birthday party, a friend of mine threw me a cookout. Mm-hmm. My fraternity brothers, specifically my line brothers, came to the cookout. Mm-hmm. And they were like, "Listen, man, it's your 50th birthday. You never had a cigar with us. Have a cigar with us." Right. What the hell, man? Listen, you're a black man and you turn 50. Right? And so in some communities, that's a major benchmark. It's a major benchmark for every person, but in some communities it's very major. In my community is one. Mm-hmm. So I said, all right, what the heck? I'll try the cigar. So I'm enjoying my drink of choice, Hennessy. It's my birthday, sitting in the backyard. It's the end of May, beautiful night. And all I remember is we were all sitting around, because it got breezy that night at the end of May. Mm-hmm. So we lit the fire pit. Mm-hmm. I remember we were all sitting around and we're just talking. Mm-hmm. And I'm sipping my Hennessy and I'm enjoying this cigar. By the way, it was a My Father cigar. So they set me up. They set me up and gave me one of the stronger cigars. It was a full body My Father. So I knew nothing about cigars. Yep. All I remember is about an hour later, I'm listening to music, because we had the music on, and I'm kind of shaking my head and I'm puffing on this cigar, and I open my eyes, and I was the only one sitting there. They had all evidently went in the house and were in the kitchen grabbing food, eating food, and talking and whatever. Right. And I'm sitting out with a smile on my face on cloud 9, smoking this cigar. And but the next day I paid for it because I was sick as a dog. Yeah. However, I did like that whole relaxing feeling that I experienced when I was sipping my Hennessy and I was enjoying the cigar. So I called my frat brother. I said, "Bro, what is the name of that cigar? And where can I get it?" So he told me the name of the cigar. Mm-hmm. So I go online, I research it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm gonna get a box of these things. Mm-hmm. So it's like $200 some. Mm-hmm. And I'm a guy who never smoked a cigar. I ordered the daggone cigars. They came in the mail. I called my friend. I said, hey man, I just ordered a box of 20 of these cigars. He's like, what? He said, all right, I'll be over.
I'm a puff with you.
So he came over, and he's looking at me like, yo, I don't even know if he fully believed it. He was like, you really bought a box of the cigars? He's like, you don't even smoke. I was like, yeah, man, but I felt so relaxed. It felt so cool, and that's how I got hooked.
Yeah.
And how'd you get hooked on the stick?
Well, so what I can tell you, the first time I puffed a cigar, I didn't fall in love with the cigar. So for me, I started smoking, or my first experience with a cigar was on a dare. It was where me and my girlfriend, we were at the Essence Festival. So everybody know, if you ever been to the Essence Festival, it's a whole vibe. So, you know, we vibing, we having a great time. And her friend from college had met us there when we were in New Orleans. And he just kept asking us to do different things and ride the mechanical bull. I'm like, I'm not riding no darn mechanical bull. And then he brought up smoking a cigar. Now, just like you, I did not like the smell, the taste. I know it gets in your clothes, your hair. I was like, I never had a desire to smoke anything. No weed, no cigar, no cigarette. So I'm like, no. However, if I had the grenade, and everybody ever been to New Orleans,
Bourbon Street grenade.
You know what, come in the green tart, yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. I had my grenade, hunte. After that grenade got into this body, I was on all type of dares. Next thing I know, I'm on a mechanical bull, I'm swinging, my girlfriend taking pictures, then her friend brings up the cigar again. So I'm like, sure, why not? Not knowing it's a full body cigar. And this is my first time smoking. So he gives me the cigar. We in the cigar shop. The guy light it for me. And it's like, I was made for this. Like, I'm just puffing like I'm a pro. Dude was like, you sure you never smoked a cigar? I was like, no. I remember I had my gray little dress on. I'm walking down Bourbon Street. I'm puffing. People taking pictures, looking at me. I'm like feeling myself. I'm feeling smooth. I love that feeling that I did have when I was smoking. And I'm just walking, I'm in my element. I'm like, yes, I can do this. Lit it at night. Oh my God, I got sick as a dog. Because I was drinking and I smoked the cigar too fast. Oh, I was so sick. So my first puff on the stick, I didn't fall in love with it. So the next time I experienced it, I'm a blend girl. I like to blend. I like the flavoring. I like infused cigars. So after that, my go-to was the Acid Blondie, and I smoked that for years. And then, I trickled along and started playing around with different cigars. But now I am truly a sister of the leaf. But yeah, that was not, my first experience was not a great experience.
Well, the end of my first experience wasn't great because I paid for it,
yes,
not understanding how to even smoke a cigar. But hey, here we are.
That's right.
And it was part of the catalyst for us meeting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So